Hello, hello. So, what does it really take to reach next level in life? Not just success, but true fulfillment. Guest today, Alan Lazarus, knows this firsthand. After a near-fatal car accident at 26, he completely redefines his life, going all in on self-improvement and building a global movement in the process. As the founder and CEO of Next Level University, a top-ranked self-improvement podcast with over 1,900 episodes and listeners in over 175 countries, and has mastered the art of optimizing life, business, and leadership. But today, we are going beyond the usual self-improvement talk. We challenge industry norms, explore what people get wrong about business, and uncover the real strategies that create lasting transformation. If you're ready for a no BS conversation in personal growth, peak performance, and building a life that actually matters, let's dive in. Welcome, Alan. What is it you do?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The first thing I want to say is I don't take it lightly to be here. I think anyone who is listening or watching this, whatever you pay attention to, is very much helping you cultivate a bigger, better, brighter future. And it's influencing what you do. It's influencing what you don't do. It's influencing what you say, think, do, feel, and believe. And so I think what you pay attention to, what you concern yourself with is critical. So I don't take it lightly to be here. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I don't take that lightly. So I won't waste a second of anybody's time, including my own.
Thank you
What is
for
it that I do?
participating. Mhm.
Of course, of course. So what is it that I do? At this stage, I talked to you a little bit about it before we hit record. I coach, I train, and I podcast. So it's taken me quite a long time to figure out not only what I'm best at, it's sort of like a Venn diagram, right? For every one of us. Some people have a job, some people have a career, some people have a calling. And I think in the beginning of life, we have a job typically, then we build a career. Then eventually we're like, well, this isn't fulfilling. So then we kind of go all in on our calling. And I think our calling is at the center of these sort of three circles. It's here's what I love to do, even when it's hard, even though it's not always easy. I really adore this. Okay. Then there's the next circle, which is what do people need? What are the injustices in the world that I really want to try to work on solving? And then the last one is what can you actually get paid for? And it's very hard to integrate those three, right? Because what you want to do, what people need, and what you can get paid for, it's very hard to find the center point of those. So I'm fortunate now at 36 years old to have found kind of the center point. So the three things that I do now is I coach, I train, and I speak. Coaching is one-on-one. Training is one to several, virtual and in person. And then podcasting is one to scale. I think I said speak, but it's actually podcasting, coaching, training, podcasting. I have it written on a whiteboard right over here. It's called my P3 target, my top three priorities. But that's pretty much what I do now at this point. But the one thing that's sort of the through line of those three vehicles of coaching, training, and podcasting is self-improvement, productivity, and business. So those are the three subjects that I study constantly. And those are the three subjects that I teach. And the way that I teach those is through coaching, training, and podcasting. And that's what I'm here to help you and your listeners with if I can.
Awesome, awesome, interesting. How did you get there? How did you start all this? So you mentioned, you have a job, then you need like to find the meaning, to find the fulfillment. What's your journey?
Yeah, so started out tough. One of the actual surprisingly challenging things for me these days is, I come on here and I've got awards in the background and I look like I started on third base, kind of, a little bit, like a silver spooner. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. So when I was 2 years old, my father passed away when he was 28. And I had a stepfather from 3 to 14. 14 years old, stepfather left, took 90% of the income with him. And I didn't know how I was going to go to college because my dream college was WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It was an engineering school. It's kind of like a mini MIT in Massachusetts. And it's one of the best engineering colleges in the world, but it's $50,000 a year. And this is back then. So I went from I hope I get in to even if I do get in, I'm not going to be able to go because we can't afford it. And so I kind of bootstrapped. I got straight A's through all of high school. I got all the scholarships and financial aid that I possibly could. And I got in to WPI and I ended up going. Got my computer engineering degree, got my master's in business. Graduated with my bachelor's in 2012, master's in 2013. And then so in '08, the sort of global economy crashed. Everyone sort of knows that. But the economy was coming back in a big way by 2013, 2014, 2015. So those years were big for me. I went from 65 to 85, 85 to 105, 105 to 125, 125 to $180,000 a year in a very short amount of time, all different tech companies. Eventually landed at a company called Cognex. They sell industrial automation equipment into manufacturing facilities all across the globe. And I did inside sales engineering, and then I did outside sales engineering. And my territory was Vermont, Connecticut, and Western Massachusetts. Then I get in my own car accident. So at this point, I'm 26. I had paid off $84,000 worth of college debt in a single year. I had $150,000 in a Vanguard account, all different tech companies and stocks, ETFs, index funds. And I was used to being broke, and I didn't realize this at the time, but when my stepdad left, I was kind of broke in high school and college for the most part. We didn't have a lot of money. And, we weren't going to starve, but I was definitely not wealthy. And so I was used to going without. So when I started having a lot of money, I drove a 2004 Volkswagen Passat that I bought in $5,000 cash. I lived on a lake with my girlfriend Courtney at the time. Our rent was $500 a month. I mean, it was $1,000, but we split it, so 500 each. And so in hindsight, I just was like, okay, I guess I'll just invest all my money and I'll just get wealthy, because why not? And I now realize how weird all that is. But then I get in my car accident at 26, my fault, crossed the double yellows, head-on collision. Fortunately, the airbags deployed, and I used to call this car the tank, the Volkswagen Passat. Volkswagen totally saved my life. And both airbags deployed. We were physically okay, definitely rattled. Usually I show this picture of the car in my speeches because it's not a fender bender. I mean, this thing was completely smashed in. The whole front end was smashed in, but the frame stayed. So we were okay physically. But my dad died in a car when he was 28, so I'm 26 at the time. This is the second chance my dad never got. And so for me, this was my quarter life sort of existential crisis of what did it all mean? Who am I? Who, what, when, where, why? Why am I here? What did I do? What did I not do? What do I really want? Where did I come from? Where am I now? Where am I headed? How am I going to get there? The who, what, when, where, who am I? Am I proud of the man I've become? Am I proud of what I've achieved? Am I proud of how I lived my life? Right? So this was sort of my circling back to my essence sort of thing. And that was 10 years ago. So I'm 36 now. I was 26 at the time. And Next Level U, you mentioned Next Level University, my company. Next Level U is pun intended, meaning I'm Alan version 3.6. Alan version 3.7 is going to be hopefully smarter and even more capable. Alan version 2.6 didn't know shit compared to Alan version 3.6. And hopefully that's what we all are going through and growing through, which is nobody knows what they're doing as a teenager. You don't know anything.
Nobody.
Everything in life is a compound effect. I'm 36 and I know exponentially more than I knew at 26, but I'm going to know exponentially more than that at 46. And so people say wisdom comes with age. Sometimes wisdom does come alone. Some people don't learn and grow. They coast. And that car accident really woke me up. It took me off any autopilot. And ever since then, I went from external achievement oriented and improvement oriented to self-improvement oriented, personal development, personal growth, mental health. I turned all of that improvement orientation inward. And the engineer in me went from I'm going to engineer my career to I'm going to engineer who I want to be and my calling. And then I flipped the script. I started my own company, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know, Alan Lazarus LLC. I wanted to bring self-improvement to the school system, personal development to the schools. Terrible, terrible idea. I'm still kind of doing that
Why,
in a way, but that's
why
not a lucrative.
terrible?
It's not a lucrative business. Definitely not. So good luck if anyone's on that mission. But now I'm doing that in my own unique way. And that's where Next Level University was born, which is it's a place you go to learn how to reach your potential. Health, wealth, life, and love. Holistic self-improvement in your pocket from anywhere on the planet, completely free. And Kevin and I are just committed to being the best men we can be and helping people reach their potential. Yeah.
It's a unique journey and very unique story. but it seems it gave you like a kick that everyone, every of us needs actually to start changing. Wondering, there are people who have life altering like experiences, for example, but not, I think it's minority who actually are able to do such a change, and transform themselves. What do you think, would you be were able to do it if it wasn't that, that accident happening?
Yeah. I've been contemplating that a long time. So here's the thing, right? I've been wondering my whole life because I only gave everybody a very, very, very short version of my 36 years on this planet. And I've been wondering my whole life what makes the difference. Like, I have people who went through some of the adversities that I went through, not many, because I've learned over time statistically. I started doing therapy in my 30s and I realized there's something called an ACE score, adverse childhood experiences. And according to my therapist, I have a very, very, very high ACE score, the highest she's ever personally seen. And she's been doing therapy for decades, so I know what that means. However, some people take adversity and they transform. It's that anti-fragile idea of the more you attack someone, the stronger they get. The more life throws at you, the stronger that person actually gets. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the more someone's attacked and beaten down and adversity, sometimes they stay down. And I think that the difference maker from what I've tried to study with thousands and thousands and thousands of coaching sessions, I have 28 people I coach right now, and it's been hundreds over the years, honestly, because there's been so many that have come and gone. I've been mentoring for 10 years, coaching for 8. First 2 was free. Difference between mentoring and coaching. But I think it's self-belief that makes the difference. I think that car accident, anyone who faces the death of a loved one or the death of a pet or their own mortality or an illness or COVID or whatever adversity, if you have a lot of self-belief unconsciously and subconsciously, it's not necessarily conscious, it's like unconscious self-belief, you'll turn that adversity into something. You'll turn that adversity and you'll transform that adversity into aiming higher, working harder, getting smarter, becoming more. But that's not how other people react, unfortunately. Statistically, that's the smaller percentage of the population. And so I used to be too much of a coward to share this, but yeah, it's a little bit hard to own, but my entire life has been really quite adverse, pretty terrible in a lot of regards. But I always found a way to it drove me. It drives me. It drives me to be better. But I know what that is. I have a high degree. You can look this up. It's called self-efficacy. In psychology, they call it self-efficacy. There's 2 types of self-efficacy. There's the external self-efficacy, which is my belief in my own ability to achieve externally. Like if I want to build, buy a certain dream car, I know I can do it. If I want to build a certain house, I know I can do it. If I want to be better at a sport, I know I can do it. If I want to be a pro gamer, I know I can do it. That's self-efficacy. And if you have high self-efficacy, when adversity comes, you'll use it as fuel to build a bigger, better, brighter future. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you have a fixed mindset, you're not going to build a bigger, better, brighter future. You're going to just play the victim, poor me, poor me, poor me. And I could have
I
done that
think
1,000 times. I have a client. Her name's Pauline. She has no arms and no legs, and she's doing more with her life than most people. And I adore her, and she inspires the hell out of me because she had every reason to make excuses, and she still didn't. And to me, that's living, breathing proof that we are all more capable than we think. And I can't handle people that just make excuses. I get it. It's tough. Life's tough. I get it. But you're going to have to find a way to make a life out of that because no one's coming to save you. And there are people that had it worse than you that made something of it. And so to me, that's the ultimate thing is you got to make something of yourself. You have to. Because if you don't, what's the fucking point? And it's really, really, really easy for me to say because I have a ton of self-belief. And self-belief is built. You have to build it. And I have a formula for it if you're interested. It's actually a very simple
yes.
formula. It's 3 things. The first one is state. Second one is prove, and then self-assign. So you have to state, I'm going to do X. I'm going to do Y. I'm going to do Z. Then that's state. Then you have to prove to yourself that you can do it. So I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. Then you have to go to the gym and prove that you did it. Keep the promise you make to yourself. And then you have to self-assign it. Look, I did that. That was me. And then unconsciously, your brain and body go, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do?
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
the other type of self-efficacy is internal. This is value. This is self-worth. So self-belief, I think, is external achievement. Self-worth is, I think, your perception of your own value. Usually that comes from social validation, unfortunately, at first. Because I think there's sort of two worlds we all live in. We live in the social world or we live in the real world. In the real world, self-efficacy matters a ton. Your ability to be able to do things, build skills, learn, grow, contribute. But in the social world, it's a lot of perception. It's a lot of social hierarchy. It's a lot of social media. There's a big difference in the social
That's the
world and the
worst.
real world. And unfortunately, the people who have a lot of high self-efficacy in the real world, sometimes they get shit on because other people are so insecure around them. And I've definitely been bullied a lot. And a lot of people who don't believe in themselves deep down, they get very insecure around people who do believe in themselves.
I think when the time goes by, this belief in themselves is only growing. At least from what I've observed myself. It's getting harder and harder to prove something. But what you just mentioned, like, makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm 100% into this idea that you can grow it, and you just need to prove yourself small things and build on top of it.
If you keep the promises you make to yourself, some people don't make promises to themselves. There's this website, you might remember it. I don't know. How old are you?
A bit older than you.
Oh, you are? Okay. You and I look
A
very young.
little bit.
Okay, so you might
Yeah.
remember this. So back when I was in college, this was 2007, 2008. I was a freshman, and there was this website called Stumble Upon. Do you remember it?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I
It's
remember.
kind of like website roulette. You do stupid, funny, gross stuff on camera, and then you just stumble upon other webcams. Dumbest shit ever. Dumbest thing ever. What a waste of time. Let's just be honest. But anyways, everyone in my dorm room was doing it. They were on Stumble Upon. I think that that's how a lot of people live life. I think they stumble upon a job. They stumble upon a relationship. They stumble upon a school. They stumble upon a career. They stumble upon. Well, here's the problem. You're not building self-belief if you didn't decide in advance. But here's the problem. If you don't have self-belief, why would you decide in advance? So most people are going through life not deciding what they really want with full intention to do it or achieve it. Because if I have no self-belief, why am I going to set a goal? And if I never set a goal and prove to myself I can achieve it, how do I build self-belief? I did the research. In January of 2024, we had a meetup called Setting Clear Goals for 2024, very original. And I did research and I found out that only 4% of the global population, according to this research, have written goals. And of the 4% that have written goals, only 8% of them actually achieve them. And I remember thinking, what? I've never not had written goals ever in my entire life, but I'm the engineering weirdo. I'm a mathematical thinker. My first modality of thinking is mathematics, formulas, equations, rationality, logic, deductive reasoning. Of course I have goals. I have the executive function part, right? And I realize now most people don't think in mathematics. They think in words and concepts or pictures and images and vision or energy, vibe, and intuition. Mathematics is the way I think. That's why engineers are so fucking weird. We think in numbers, right? Yeah. I told you that I did 51 podcasts, coaching sessions, and trainings last week. I'm tracking everything, right? So if you don't think in numbers and you don't set goals and you don't think into the future and you don't believe in yourself and you have a fixed mindset, meaning you don't believe you can change or get better, you're stuck. And so if you ever do get in a car accident or whatever it is, it might not wake you up. It might, but it might not. So everyone out there right now, you got to ask yourself, how much do you actually believe in yourself? Not socially. I'm talking behind the scenes when no one's watching. Because right now I come off very arrogant. I know that. Behind the scenes, I actually believe in myself more. I'm dialing it down for you. But socially, I have to dial it down. Otherwise, I'm too much for people. Other people are dialing it up socially. And then when they're alone, they're dialing it. They're actually, let's say someone actually believes in themselves at level 1. But socially, they pretend it's 10. what I've found coaching so many people, I've one person I'm thinking of, his name's Matt. He believes in himself at level 10, but when he's socially, he pretends it's a 1. And then I have someone
Why would
else
you
who
do
believes in
that?
himself not at all. But he puffer fish, you'd think he's the most confident man in the world. Why would someone with level 10 confidence have no goals? It's not real. It's bravado and social perception. It's status. It's inflated self-worth. It's not true self-belief. And that's why when you watch them behind the scenes, you realize they don't actually do that much. And then there's other people who, when they're social, you wouldn't even know that they were confident. And then behind the scenes, they're machines. They're just my COO, Christina. She's mousy in socially. She doesn't make noise. She's not loud. She's not abrasive. She's a machine. I mean, she's got skills. She's more competent than 90% of the people I know, but you'd never know it socially. And that's why she's the chief operating officer of my company. But that's the problem, is the social world and the real world are completely different. And usually people are inflating or deflating to fit in because we all crave belonging.
Very interesting. Yeah, I was thinking that people who seem to be extremely extroverted and like cool, they might not be, that strong actually, and might be actually sweating a lot, like pretending to be something else than they are. Interesting. All right, so let's talk about, you advocate heart-driven but no BS approach to self-improvement. So we heard some elements of it already. So what's the biggest bullshit you see in the self-improvement industry today?
Oh. I think that there's this idea in the world right now that's been going, it's been spreading, and I think it's very dangerous. So everyone understands how COVID spread exponentially. It was 2, 4, 8, 16, 30. I mean, that's what was so scary about it. It spread exponentially. Well, there's something called memetics. When you hear meme, M-E-M-E, I used to wonder why it wasn't spelled M-E-E-M. Memetics is a mind virus. It's like a belief that spreads. Well, that's why we call them memes online. When you see a meme, it's like an image that spreads. For some reason, my camera's going nuts here. Hold on. Yeah, crazy brightness for some reason. But anyway, so memetics, you can look this up, is essentially a mind virus that spreads. And I think there's a mind virus that's been spreading, particularly in the 21st century, that you can achieve great things with minimal effort. And I just think it's the dumbest shit ever. I meet people all the time. They say, well, I really want to start my own business because I want more free time. That's the worst idea ever. There's a book called The 4-Hour Workweek that's very famous by Tim Ferriss. And I actually respect and admire Tim's work quite a bit. I've enjoyed a lot of Tim's work. But that is a very dishonest title. And I get it. It's a marketing title. And if you read the book, there's actually a lot of really good principles in there. Pareto's principle and the 80-20 rule, which is Pareto's principle. 20% of effort produces 80% of results. Those are great principles. However, no one is going to build a $100 million company with 4 hours a week. And by the way, Tim, got to call you out. You've never worked 4 hours a week in your life, sir. You were Ivy League, grind time, 60-hour weeks every week for decades plus. And most people will not have your career. And I get why you picked that title. I do. I understand. But it's annoying because I think that a lot of people want to believe that they can achieve more with less. And there is something called working smarter, and I understand that. And I think people say, well, work smart, not hard. Here's the dangerous part. You usually don't work smart until after you've worked really hard.
Definitely. It applies when you have something going already.
Yeah, and you're beating your head against the wall over and over and over and over again. It's not working, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. And then you get frustrated, and then you turn the frustration into fascination, and then the fascination into innovation. Imagine Apple building the iPhone, and they're like, you know what? Let's work smart, not hard. It doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's not real. It's a fugazi.
I think scammers are doing that.
Yeah, scammers are great at this. Let me rent a Ferrari, do a promo video, post it on Facebook of how I got rich, teach you how to do it, Yeah, it's
Yeah.
again, at the end of the day, I just don't want anyone to fall for the bullshit, because the self-improvement industry, I've been in it for 10 years. I studied the industry deeply, 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 deeply. The greats from where it started, the Og Mandinos and the Jim Rohns and the Napoleon Hills and the Tony Robbins and the Oprah Winfreys and the Brendan Burchards and the Darren Hardys and all these people. And you see that all of them are selling ice cream, but they're all selling a different flavor. None of them are selling all of the spectrum. Some people say all you got to do is grind, and you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and you got to grind and sleep when you're dead. That's the dumbest shit ever. And then over here, there's just manifest it and, think positive thoughts and it will come. Like, that's also dumb. The truth is, it's an equation, and no one has the whole equation, but everyone's acting like they do. And that's been really hard for me because I had a sincere interest to learn from these people. And I've met many of them, millionaires, one billionaire. And I realize behind the scenes, they're not even close to what they portray. And that's really hard for me. None of them really know the whole equation. Half of them don't even know how they got successful. As an engineer, I reverse engineer everything. And some of these people that are really successful don't actually consciously know how they did it. And they're teaching things that aren't actually what did it. And I'll give
That
one
kind of
tiny
peop
example. Good.
that kind of people have huge element of success, being in the right time, the right place, and saying right things to somebody who matters, and
Well, a
that
lot of it is
escalates everything.
unconscious competency. It's like asking Michael Jordan how to dunk. He's like, "What do you mean? You just jump and
Yeah,
dunk?" Like, it's very hard for people to know how they got success when they didn't even intend on it. Mel Robbins is a great example. Mel Robbins is the most successful self-improvement podcast right now on the top charts. And Mel created the 5-second rule, and she went viral. And again, I don't want to disrespect Mel, because I actually think Mel is doing a lot of good in the world. So please don't take this out of context. But what I do know is that Mel is a very small part of the equation. Like, you can't replicate Mel's success with the 5-second rule. She went viral and doesn't even know how she went viral. And we can't count on that as people who learn. Other people aren't going to, right? There's only one Olympic gold medalist. There's 8 billion human beings on the planet, 6 billion on the internet, and there's only one Mel Robbins. And if Mel Robbins doesn't actually know how she did it, her advice is inherently unsound. And I'm not, again, I don't want to pick on Mel. The only reason I even used Mel is because she's got the most successful self-improvement podcast. But the point that I'm making is that everyone has to understand, instead of trying to learn, don't take anyone's advice, including mine, without filtering it through your own context, your own goals, your own core values, your own skills, your own, okay, I work 7 days a week, every week for 10 years. Worst idea ever for people who aren't wired like me. My business partner calls me a cyborg.
It's inevitable burnout for those who cannot really handle it naturally.
100%, 100%. And I burn out too sometimes, right? But you have to understand that I'm wired different. I have a different upbringing. I have unconscious competencies that other people don't. The other stuff that you don't see is that I'm tracking my sleep every single day. I'm hydrating every single day. I have the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual scaffolding to actually sustain that. I didn't start here. If you saw my calendar 7 years ago, it's nothing compared to what it is now. So there's just a lot beneath the iceberg that isn't being said, that I think a lot of people forget is actually what did it. And one last tiny example to help this land is, I'll never forget, I was watching an interview with Oprah Winfrey, and she was asked, and I've seen Oprah speak live. I respect and admire Oprah a lot, so please don't take this wrong. But Oprah on an interview said, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, Oprah said, I would have told her, the young girl, like, don't worry so much. Here's the problem. Oprah, the reason you became Oprah is because you were concerned. You were concerned about what to do next, and you were concerned about whether or not you'd make it, and you were concerned about, you didn't miss a single Oprah show for decades. She literally didn't miss for 30,000 or something crazy. She didn't miss a single interview for 3,650 days straight. not being sick, any of that stuff. Not days straight, but Oprah shows, because she did it for over a decade. And don't quote me on any of that stuff, because I remember when she was on stage in UMass Lowell, she gave a scholarship there, and we were at a speech. She said basically I went a decade or more without missing a single Oprah show. I don't know the exact numbers, so don't quote me on any of the numbers, okay? But I do know, okay, that's what did it. And if you weren't worried, there's young people out there watching Oprah, and they're hearing her say, well, if I could talk to my younger self, I wouldn't have worried so much. But what if someone's on the couch eating Cheetos, already lazy, and they hear you say, don't worry, it's all going to work out?
All
No, it's
right.
not. It's not going to work out. Like, I got to be real. I say this because I care. Your future is not just going to work out. You're not going to end up Oprah. I'm telling you, I've met people that are super, super, super top of their industry success levels. I've met Olympic gold medalists. I've interviewed them. I'm telling you right now, no one stumbles upon that. And if they do, it's very, very rare, and you cannot count on that. And so the truth is, Oprah was concerned. Her circle of concern was whether or not she was going to make it, which is why she did whatever she could to make it. And I think that sometimes people that get to the top of the game, for lack of better phrasing, they forget what actually got them there, which is just tenacity and grit and relentless pursuit and never giving up and tons of self-belief and believing in it even when they were down and overcoming tremendous adversity. And I think that
True.
Oprah has lost the tenacity that she had to have early on to push herself through many of the societal barriers that she got through.
I could imagine that, you could say like, oh, you should have worried less and so on, because you're looking from completely different perspective. You're looking from the top. You're already on the top, and you might think, well, maybe you didn't need to worry in that case. Maybe this one was meaningless, Maybe here and there you stretched too much, but it's not for those who are sitting on the couch
Yeah.
eating chips. It's a
Sitting on the couch
completely
watching.
different
Yeah.
angle. And I remember my own journey too. So I tried to build so many projects. I can count about 100 repositories, like ideas, building, like launching, building, launching, building,
Nice.
launching. So not, you know, not every like idea becomes a startup. So, but also like what I'm doing now is like consulting, doing fractional CTO stuff, products, all of that stuff, high level stuff, built like organizing teams. And then, it seems easy, like feels like I always been there, it's like
Yeah.
natural. But the whole journey, like 20 years of building things and failing and building and succeeding and building and failing again. So that basically taught how to do all of that stuff. And then you can advise somebody else.
But it feels easy now. That's like me
Now
saying
it's
to
like
a new
nothing happened.
podcaster, just show up to the mic. It's all going to work out. No worries. Don't stress. The only reason I became this articulate is through I have a 25 impact point score of effective communication, tonality, storytelling, enunciation, filler words. You have been doing this for so long that it has become seamless, but you forgot how bad you were at the beginning. And even then, you might have had a natural gift at it. And then you're trying to tell someone who doesn't have the gift, who's at the beginning, oh, don't worry so much. Worst advice ever. So you asked me no BS. If you want the no BS, here it is. Everything at a professional level is wildly competitive. It's way harder than you think, and it's going to take a decade at least to actually get to the top of. And if you have a sincere interest to win an Olympic gold medal, don't ever forget that there's only one of those every 4 years. And you better do everything you can, because even if you do, most people never get one.
They get close, but, other people get second, third place. Some just are happy that they could participate. But to be a participant, how much work you need to put in to get there.
And that's why I disagree with the 4-hour work week. Can you imagine? 4 hours a week to get an Olympic gold medal. It's impossible. That's impossible. It's mathematically impossible.
maybe random luck, some huge client shows up and they buy everything, and it's like, you might buy a good domain name, which will be super expensive.
Yeah.
Like,
Brutal.
great
And here's the
success.
thing, Michael Phelps, I've been studying him a lot. So, most successful Olympian in history, 23 gold medals with several, I think he has 3 bronze, 2 silver, or the other way around, but 23 Olympic gold medals. Okay? Whoa. He spent 5 years straight before 2008 when he won 8 of them. He spent 5 years straight in the pool without missing a single day. 5 years straight, holidays, Christmas, his birthday, didn't miss a single day in the pool for 5 years straight. And it affected his mental health so much that he had suicidal ideation after 2008. And he talks openly about this. And then here we are on the internet saying you don't have to sacrifice. It makes no sense. It's not real. And if you're going up against Michael Phelps, metaphorically, you better be in the pool regularly. Otherwise, you don't even have a chance.
I think there's one more thing that might confuse, especially us millennials, because we were taught that, well, we can be whatever we want practically.
Yeah.
We want to be CEO, sure, you can do it. Just do
Bold-faced lie.
it.
Michael Phelps is a freak athlete who has the perfect body for swimming, who happened to be in the right pool at the right time with the right coach, and 5 years straight without a single day missed. That's what did it. And before, I think he was in the pool when he was, 5 or something? The point is that no, you cannot do anything you set your mind to. That's not real. It's not true. And unfortunately, the whole world celebrates the very few people that it ended up being true to. I'm not saying not to believe in yourself. I'm not saying not to work hard. I'm not saying not to have goals. I want you to have goals. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to work hard towards them. I want you to say no to things that aren't aligned and say yes to things that are. I want you to have tenacity and grit and relentless pursuit of your goals and dreams. However, you're not going to beat LeBron James at basketball, most likely. Okay? And you need to understand that things are not just going to happen. They are going to happen not by default, but by design. You have to know that, yeah, okay, I am 6'7". Okay, I am good at basketball. Okay, I did start playing at 8. Okay, I could probably be in the NBA, right? And I coach enough people. I have 28 business owners that I coach currently. And some of the hardest coaching sessions that I have to have is you're going for the wrong thing. I'm sorry, but you're going for the wrong thing. You're not wired this way. If you're not a type A super achiever, you should not try to build $1 billion business. You shouldn't. If you want to stay home with your family and be a magnificent mother, that's great. That's great. That's okay. And then the opposite, some people are type A super achievers, convincing themselves that they want to be a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, when in reality, they actually have to own who they really are. And who they really are is someone who's never going to be fulfilled unless they're achieving and challenged and ignited and motivated and inspired. And so we're all wired differently. And unfortunately, a lot of us are going for things that aren't conducive to who we really are.
Interesting. So, need to be really mindful and try to have realistic goals and somebody to kick you in the butt to get started and actually do something about it, not just sit on a couch and dream how it could be, and how life's not fair.
Yeah. Sorry to
All
be the
right,
bearer of bad news, everyone.
it's reality. You need to get into reality, and it might open eyes for somebody. And they start thinking, that stars might not align themselves. You might need to do something about it too. I think it's a really good advice, and we learned a really good lesson. So, how people could find you if they want to talk more? Where
Yeah,
should they look?
absolutely. Thank you so much because I do have a coaching session in 2 minutes, so I got to jump. I also have to use the bathroom quick. For anyone out there watching or listening, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was an awesome conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to spread awareness, self-improvement into the world. I think that's what's going to change the world truly is just I want self-improvement to spread exponentially. And I think that will change all of our lives. Where people can find me is you can Google my name, ALAN space LAZAROS, Alan Lazarus. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Please DM me. I would love to connect. And you can email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. Nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds. The podcast is Next Level University, spelled just like it sounds. The website is Next Level Universe, all things nextlevel.com.
Nice. I will put the links in the description, so it should be all clickable, all there. And thank you, Alan. It was really interesting. And thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and follow, and stay tuned for the next episode. It was me, Vygandas Klasas, your host, and see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.